Today we are throwing it back, and I am not talking about that ass. I am talking about this video. I really was rolling there, but then I just completely, lost my train of thought. So much for an intro. But anyways, this is March 2015, RPS New England Revolution, my first powerlifting meet. If you look off to the left of your screen, you can see Brandon Campbell, the BBC himself, rocking the beanie. What an absolute beaut. This was his pre-basement days, so this was one of the most fun meets I've ever done. Maybe just because it was something, so new and so exciting. But definitely right here was nervous as hell. Just wanted to get a couple white lights. That was all I could think of at this point. Hadn't been training powerlifting specifically for very long at this point. Hadn't been low bar squatting very long. So you're going to see some pretty shitty form, but at least you're going to see some PRs, I think. So thanks for watching. This should be fun.
Is a good win.
Yeah.
Richard, second attempt, third attempt, please. And that is a good win.
At this point, I was very happy that I was just on the board 2 for 2. I don't know if you've ever competed in powerlifting before, but once that first squat is over, once that opener is done with, everything feels like 100 times better. Like everything just gets much more relaxed. You get more comfortable. Things are a little bit less shaky, and you kind of find a little bit of a groove. And I believe this was 475, which was a 5-pound PR at the time. I was 20 years old, yes, if my math is correct. So 20 years old, still getting some noob powerlifting gains, but was able to hit a PR in the first meet, which is always a good thing. So very good PR, moved pretty well, but we got to talk about this right knee. I have a friend, Dolores, who works the poles occasionally, and this is what her knee looks like when she's doing the stanky leg on a Saturday night at Frisco's. This has been one of my biggest struggles in the squat. You're going to see it improves greatly from here up until my most recent meatspin.com recent meet that you'll see after this meet, but it's still there a little bit. But this is just, it almost looks from this angle, I think it makes it look even worse. It kind of looks like my tibia is broken. So obviously there's going to be some form breakdown on max effort lifts, but this is just too much. And it may have, I can't say definitively that it led to some knee pain down the road, but this type of action, I can only assume that it contributed to some of the knee pain I felt a couple years down the road from this. And I did see an orthopedic specialist who said I had patella tracking disorder, which basically just means my kneecap was displaced. So not dislocated, but it had shifted. And I can only think that had something to do with squatting and, poor knee tracking. And some of the things I really did to correct that is really focus on opening up the hips with mobility work, as well as strengthening the outside of my legs. So the hip abduction machine, I usually leave it to Keisha, but that one is awesome, as well as just any other exercise that really strengthens those glutes and outside of your legs.
And that is a good lift.
He's gonna hit the rack. He's too close to it. It's not underneath.
You could hear my friend right there say he's going to hit the rack. He's too far back setup wise. And he's exactly right. And that's kind of the story of my life for this meet on the bench. I think that the bench is one of the lifts that's most eye-opening when going into your first powerlifting competition, in that it's the most different from training. So I came in here expecting to hit, an all-time PR, and after my opener, I realized that wasn't gonna be the case at all. There's so many different variables that most people, I'd say like 90% of people, especially novice powerlifters, don't practice in the gym before going into a competition as it pertains to the bench press. Like with the deadlift, whatever, you're in a commercial gym, you pick up the weight from the ground. It's the same thing in the competition. All you have to do is wait for the down command. But in the bench, there's so many little subtleties that you have to worry about, like including the setup on a different kind of bench. If you're doing a self handoff, it's going to feel different. You're probably not pausing long enough in training. All of these things came back to hurt me in this meet, and that's why I really had a disappointing day in bench and didn't hit the numbers that I wanted to.
It's not underneath.
And it is a good lift.
180 pounds. He's 180. Come on.
And it is a new lift. 270. And that is a good.
So capped off the day, 8 for 9, 2 all-time PRs. This was a 5-pound PR on the deadlift. I believe I hit a 10-pound PR on the squat. But you can tell I was definitely very raw. And I'm talking about powerlifting-wise for you horn dogs out there. But yeah, a lot to improve on. Technically could be a lot better. And I think my lifts did get better technically over the years. My deadlift, I started to get a lot tighter at the bottom. As you saw here, I had good speed off the floor, but was very rounded, didn't really get much tightness at the bottom. And that just makes it harder for yourself on the lockout, as well as straining the lower back. But anyway, this was one of the most fun meets I've ever done, and obviously, if it wasn't that fun, I wouldn't have gone on to do several more. So this was. Hope you enjoyed this little flashback.